We warned you not to get involved in those crimes, Emeka said, but you didn't listen. You wanted quick and easy money, forgetting that life doesn't work like that. Musa nodded in agreement. We tried to convince you to find a decent job, but you refused and even walked out on us after insulting us. Now look at you. You are wanted by the police and living a very reckless life. Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, there lived a young man named Tunde. He was in his late 20s and shared a small apartment with his two friends, Emeka and Musa. Life was not easy for them. They often struggled to make ends meet, but they did their best to support one another. Emeka and Musa were very hard workers. They spent their days looking for any available jobs, no matter how small. They took on so many petty jobs like running errands, selling goods, or helping people move their loads. They believed that these jobs could help them earn a little money and build a better future. But Tunde had a different idea. He was good looking and proud, and he thought he deserved more than just those little jobs. Tunde often told Emeka and Musa that he couldn't waste his time on petty jobs. "Look at me," he would say, waving his hands dramatically. "A fine man like me should not be doing those kind of things." He wanted a job that would bring in a lot of money without making much efforts. He dreamed of a life where he could enjoy nice things and not worry about finances. Musa and Emeka tried to reason with him. "Tunde," they would say gently, "everyone has to start somewhere. If you put in the work now, things will get better along the way." But Tunde would just shake his head. He was determined to find an easier way to make money. While Emeka and Musa went out each day to do their jobs, Tunde stayed back at home. He spent hours searching the internet and thinking of ways to make quick money. He looked for opportunities that seemed too good to be true, hoping to find a shortcut to wealth. As his friends hustled in the heat, Tunde imagined himself living a luxurious life without putting in much effort. Days turned into weeks, and still, Tunde held on to his dream. Emeka and Musa continued to encourage him, but Tunde remained fixed in his ways, convinced that he could find a way to earn money effortlessly. Little did he know, life would soon teach him some important lessons about hard work and patience. One day, Tunde decided to step out of his apartment to buy some snacks from a nearby store. As he walked back home, he noticed a familiar face in the crowd. He squinted and looked again, and suddenly he recognized the person. It was Victor, a friend from high school. They were not very close back then, but they had chatted a few times, so seeing each other again felt very nice. Tunde approached Victor, calling out his name. Victor turned around, surprised and happy to see Tunde. They embraced each other warmly, their smiles wide. It felt good to reconnect after so many years. They stood together, catching up on life. Tunde couldn't help but notice how well Victor was doing now. He wore stylish, expensive clothes that made him look very sharp. And beside him was a stunning car that Tunde instantly knew must belong to Victor. "Wow!" Tunde exclaimed, his eyes widening in amazement. "You look really good. What have you been up to? Where do you work?" Victor smiled and explained that he worked online. doing various projects that earned him good amounts of money. Tunde's heart raced with excitement. This was exactly the kind of work he had always wanted. Something that could make him rich without much effort or going to an office. Curious, Victor asked Tunde what he was currently doing for work. Tunde sighed and admitted that he was still in search of a job and would love to learn about the kind of work Victor did. Victor nodded and said, "No problem, I can help you with that." They exchanged phone numbers and Victor even handed Tunde some cash, which made Tunde feel thrilled. He couldn't believe his luck. With a spring in his step, Tunde headed home, his mind buzzing with dreams of wealth and success. He burst into the apartment, eager to share the news with his friends Musa and Emeka. "You won't believe what just happened," he exclaimed. He told them all about meeting Victor and how he was going to get rich very soon. Musa and Emeka exchanged surprised looks. "How do you plan to make money? You haven't even agreed to work with Victor yet," they questioned, puzzled by Tunde's excitement. Tunde just laughed, waving off their concerns. He recounted the whole encounter, feeling more confident with each word. Musa shook his head. "That is great, but it's not enough to assume you will get rich. You don't even know what kind of work Victor does," he cautioned. Tunde shrugged, brushing off their worries. "I don't care. I am going to do it," he declared, filled with determination. Emeka sighed, looking at Musa. "Okay, we will see what happens," he said, unsure but supportive. Tunde felt a rush of joy, believing that this time things were finally going to change for him. The next day, Tunde was filled with excitement. He picked up his phone and called Victor. They chatted for a while, and Tunde eagerly asked about the job Victor had mentioned earlier. Victor said it would be better to talk in person, so he invited Tunde over to his apartment. He sent Tunde his address, and Tunde agreed right away. After dressing up, Tunde headed out, his heart racing with anticipation. When he arrived at Victor's place, he was amazed. Victor lived in a beautiful apartment filled with luxurious decorations and elegant furniture. Tunde walked around in shock, taking in the fancy surroundings. He imagined himself living in a place like this one day, filled with joy and excitement at the thought of starting a new job. Victor welcomed Tunde inside with a big smile. They sat down in a cozy living room, and Victor began to speak. "Tunde," he said, "I have known you for a long time, even though we were not very close, and I see how eager you are to make money. I know how serious you are about getting rich, so I want to be very honest with you." Tunde listened very carefully, feeling a mix of curiosity and nervousness. Victor took a deep breath. "I am into internet fraud," he said. Tunde's eyes widened. "Do you know what that means?" Victor asked. Tunde hesitated for a moment, but then he nodded, saying yes, he knew what internet fraud means. Victor continued, "I am into a job that people also call Yahoo Yahoo. We scam people for their money." Tunde listened very carefully. He knew it was a risky and illegal job, but he was bent on doing it. Victor explained further about how the business worked. He told Tunde that they used an app to send messages to people, tricking them into giving away their money. As Victor spoke, Tunde felt a flutter of fear in his stomach. He wanted to make money badly, but he knew that if he got caught, he could face serious consequences from the authorities. The thought scared him, but he also felt drawn to the idea of quick money. "Are you interested?" Victor asked, looking at Tunde closely. Tunde took a deep breath, his mind racing. After a moment of hesitation, he nodded. Yes, I want to learn," he said, feeling a strange mix of excitement and fear. Victor smiled, clearly pleased. "Great. Let me tell you the next steps," he said. Tunde felt a rush of energy as he prepared to dive into this new world. Although he knew it was risky, he was eager to start his journey towards wealth and a better life. Little did he know, this choice would lead him down a very complicated path. "So what I want you to do now is to go home. Get some of your things and come back here," Victor told Tunde. "You will stay with me until you have mastered everything and starting to earn money for yourself. After that, you can live on your own." Tunde felt a rush of excitement. Finally, he would be able to live in a beautiful house and achieve all the dreams he had always had. Eager to get started, Tunde agreed quickly and returned to his apartment, where he lived with Emeka and Musa. As he entered the cramped space, he felt a mix of emotions: happiness for the new opportunity and sadness about leaving his friends behind. He began to pack his belongings, putting clothes and personal items into a bag. Just then, Emeka and Musa walked into the room, surprised to see Tunde packing. "What's happening here?" they asked. Confused, "Where are you going?" Tunde looked up and replied, "Oh, I have gotten a job now. I told you guys about Victor, right? So I am leaving, because I will have to stay with Victor to master the job." "Leaving? Why?" Musa exclaimed. "What type of job is that? Please talk to us. We are your friends." They pleaded with him. Looking concerned, Tunde shrugged and said, "Don't worry, you will find out soon. I just want to go for now." He could feel their worry, but was determined to follow his new path. Despite their pleas, Tunde was firm. "I have to do this," he insisted. He quickly said goodbye, knowing it was a tough decision, but feeling confident about the opportunity ahead. He left their apartment, heading back to Victor's place. When he arrived, Victor welcomed him warmly. "I have everything you need to get started," he said, handing Tunde a laptop and other gadgets for the job. Tunde felt grateful for Victor's kindness. The setup made him feel comfortable and excited about learning. As Tunde began the work, he discovered that he was quite good at it. With his street smart skills, he picked up the task quickly. Victor was impressed by how fast Tunde learned, often praising him for his abilities. Tunde felt proud and motivated. He could see money coming in soon. Each small success made him more excited about his new life, and he knew he was on the right track. Back at the small apartment, Musa and Emeka were working hard. They had both found jobs at different companies and were doing well. With their earnings, they managed to move from their cramped apartment to a bigger and more comfortable 3-bedroom flat. They were proud of their progress and felt good about their hard work paying off. However, even with their success, they often thought about Tunde. They missed their friend and wondered how he was doing. They tried reaching out to him several times, but his number never went through, and they had no idea where he was. They hoped and prayed that he was doing okay and finding his own way in the world. 6 months later, Tunde had a breakthrough. He pulled off a major scam that earned him a lot of millions, far more than Victor had ever made. This was the moment he had been waiting for all his life, and he felt overjoyed. The thrill of success filled him as he realized just how far he had come. He thanked Victor profusely for helping him and teaching him the ropes of this new life. With the money he made, Tunde rented a huge mansion and bought a brand new expensive car. He transformed into a wealthy man almost overnight, and happiness washed over him. As he settled into his luxurious new life, he couldn't help but think to himself how grateful he was that he didn't listen to his friends Emeka and Musa. He believed that working in an office would have meant small salaries and endless struggles, and he felt proud of his choice. Tunde moved into his new apartment, and since he had learned everything about the business, he excelled in his work. His lifestyle changed dramatically. He started going to fancy parties, spending money freely, and enjoying life to the fullest. He surrounded himself with beautiful women, showering them with gifts and making them feel very special. Every weekend, Tunde hosted friends at his mansion. They would laugh, dance, and enjoy delicious food together. His home became a popular spot for gathering, and many people wanted to be around him because of his money. Girls were especially drawn to him, as he always made sure they felt pampered and comfortable. Tunde reveled in this new attention, feeling like a king in his own new world. As he lived his luxurious lifestyle, Tunde felt a mix of pride and excitement. He had achieved everything he had dreamed of, and he couldn't help but smile at how far he had come. Life was good, and he was determined to keep enjoying every moment of it. One day, Tunde decided it was time to visit his old friends, Musa and Emeka. He felt excited to see them again after all this time. He hopped into his luxurious car, the shiny paint reflecting the sunlight, and drove to their new place. When he arrived, he was surprised to find out from neighbors that Musa and Emeka had moved just a few months ago. They were friendly and gave him their new address. Tunde quickly made his way to their new home. When he knocked on the door, Musa opened it and gasped in shock. "Tunde, is this really you?" he exclaimed. Without wasting a moment, Musa ran to fetch Emeka, who was just as surprised to see Tunde standing at their doorstep. They welcomed Tunde into their house with big smiles, and the three friends sat down together. Excitement filled the room. But soon, Musa and Emeka's expression turned serious. "You left without saying anything, Tunde. That wasn't fair," Musa said. Emeka added, "We tried calling you so many times, but your phone never worked. We were worried." Tunde looked at them and felt a bit guilty. "I am really sorry about that, my friends. I just wanted to focus on making money." Emeka nodded but continued, "By the way, you look really good. Whose car is that parked outside?" With pride, Tunde replied, "Oh, that's mine. I have made a lot of money now." Musa and Emeka's eyes widened in surprise. "That's nice. But what kind of job did you get that made you rich so fast?" they asked, eager to know more. Tunde hesitated for a moment, knowing that this was a sensitive topic. "Well, this is kind of a secret," he said cautionally. "I am into scam now. You know, I scam people for a living. The popularly known job called Yahoo Yahoo," he told them. "What?" Emeka and Musa screamed in disbelief. "Oh my goodness, Tunde. This is very wrong. Why would you choose to do that? We told you to get a decent job." Tunde looked at them, frustration bubbling inside him. "Oh, please spare me that. Do you want me to live the kind of life you both have? Look at me. I have only been in this for just few months, and I already bought a brand new car and also rented a mansion. What have you two achieved? He pointed out their modest lifestyle. I can't live like you, relying on those small salaries your offices pay you. Musa and Emeka were taken aback by Tunde's harsh words. They never expected him to say such things. Tunde felt a mix of anger and disappointment. He stood up abruptly and said, I don't need to be here. I am done. With that, he left their house, promising himself never to visit them again. Musa and Emeka exchanged worried glances. They couldn't believe how different Tunde had become. They felt sad, but also knew they needed to focus on their own lives. From that day on, they decided it was best to keep their distance from Tunde and not get involved in his risky choices anymore. Tunde didn't care about anything except enjoying his life. He spent money lavishly, buying whatever he wanted, without thinking about saving or investing for the future. Whenever someone tried to convince him to stop his illegal job or suggested he should invest his money wisely, Tunde would get angry. He would insult them and cut ties immediately, believing that anyone who questioned his lifestyle didn't understand him or liked him. The people around Tunde were not true friends. They were just there for his money. They enjoyed the lavish parties and the expensive gifts he showered upon them. Tunde felt powerful and important, living a life of luxury, but deep down, he was making reckless choices that would catch up with him later. As time went on, Tunde's money began to dry up. The big scams that had once brought him wealth were no longer working. He tried different tricks and schemes, hoping to regain his former success, but nothing seemed to work. Each day he watched his bank account shrink. Despite this, Tunde continued to spend lavishly, convinced that he would hit another big payday soon. He was living in a fantasy, ignoring the reality of his situation. Days turned into weeks, and soon he found himself running out of money completely. He hadn't saved a penny or made any investments, so he had no backup plan. The friends who had once enjoyed his company began to drift away. They were tired of seeing him waste money and tried to advise him to be more responsible, but Tunde pushed them away. He felt isolated, but he still clung to the hope that everything would turn around. Eventually, Tunde faced a harsh reality. His rent was due and he had no way to pay his landlord. His apartment was large and expensive, and as the days passed, his landlord became more demanding. After months of excuses and empty promises, Tunde was finally kicked out. The feeling of losing his home hit him very hard, and he still didn't fully grasp the consequences of his actions. With nowhere to go, Tunde loaded some of his belongings into his car. This became his new home. Each night he would drive to a quiet spot where he could sleep without being disturbed. Life in his car was tough. He would wake up very early, often before dawn, when it was still dark outside. Each morning, he would clean up, brush his teeth and change his clothes, trying to maintain some sense of normalcy. As he sat in his car, staring out at the world, Tunde began to realize how far he had fallen from the life he once had. He missed his old friends and the comfort of his big apartment. Yet, he still held on to the hope that he would find a way to make money again. But for now, all he could do was survive, moving from one quiet spot to another, lost and alone in the night. This didn't stop Tunde from trying to maintain his luxurious lifestyle. He began to use his car as a way to show off his supposed wealth. No one knew he was actually sleeping in his car at night. He would drive around town, picking up beautiful ladies and spinning the stories about how rich he was. They believed him because of the nice car he drove. Tunde would invent tales about his success and would often ask these ladies for money, promising to pay them back later with interest. Once he got what he needed, he would disappear, leaving them wondering where he had gone. This became his way of getting money to survive. One day, Tunde met a lovely lady named Naomi at a party. She was kind and very beautiful, and it didn't take long for them to start talking. As they chatted, Tunde began to wave his usual lies about his wealth. Naomi found him attractive and interesting, and they began to spend time together in Tunde's car. Each time she asked to visit his home, he would come up with different excuses and she would believe him. But one day, Naomi insisted she wanted to visit his house, and this time she said, "No more excuses." Tunde felt a knot in his stomach. He had run out of lies and didn't know what to say. In a moment of desperation, he thought of his old friends, Musa and Emeka. He decided he needed to go visit them and asked to borrow their house for a little while, just to impress Naomi. When Tunde arrived at Musa and Emeka's place, they were very shocked to see him. It had been a long time since they last saw each other. Tunde took a deep breath and began to apologize for disappearing and for everything he said to them. He explained his predicament, sharing how he had squandered all his money and how his landlord had thrown him out of his apartment. Musa and Emeka exchanged glances. "So what can we do for you now?" they asked. Tunde replied, "I just need to use your house for a while. I want to invite a lady over. Her name is Naomi." Their faces changed. They didn't like the idea at all. They didn't want to be associated with Tunde because of the risky business he had gotten himself into. But after a moment, remembering their friendship, they reluctantly agreed. "Okay, but this should be the last time we would help you with something like this," they warned. Tunde thanked them profusely, feeling grateful as he left their house. The next day, Musa and Emeka decided to leave the house for Tunde while they ran some errands. Tunde quickly brought Naomi over, and she was thrilled to finally see his place. He lied, telling her that he lived there and that it was a great apartment. They spent some time together, laughing and enjoying each other's company. When Naomi left later that day, she felt happy about their time together and believed something serious would come up between the both of them. When Musa and Emeka returned home, Tunde thanked them again for their help. They reminded him that they wouldn't support him in this way again. Tunde nodded, feeling a mix of relief and guilt. He knew he was taking advantage of their kindness, but was desperate to keep up appearances. After spending some time with them, he left their house, unsure of what would come next in his complicated life. A few days later, Emeka and Musa were in their house enjoying a fun afternoon playing video games. They were laughing and having a good time, when suddenly they heard a loud knock on the door. Startled, they looked at each other and wondered who it could be, because they were not expecting any visitors. Emeka stood up and walked towards the door, opening it cautiously. To their surprise, standing there was a lady with two serious-looking police officers beside her. The officers immediately asked with anger, "Where is Tunde?" Before Emeka and Musa could answer, the officers pushed past them and entered the house, searching for Tunde. Confused and worried, Musa and Emeka exchanged glances. They had no idea what was going on. After searching the house thoroughly and finding no sign of Tunde, the officers turned back to Emeka and Musa. "You are coming with us," they said firmly. Shocked, the two friends didn't know what to say. Everything felt surreal, like a strange dream. They were taken to the police station, still confused about what was happening. At the police station, The lady introduced herself as Naomi. The officers began to ask her questions. She explained, "Tunde scammed me out of my money, and now he is nowhere to be found." She looked upset and frustrated. "I went to his house because that's what he told me." Emeka and Musa were stunned. They quickly spoke up. "He doesn't live there. He asked us to borrow our house just to impress you." They were eager to explain that Tunde had been lying to everyone. When Naomi heard this, her eyes widened in disbelief. "What? Tunde is a very big liar. How could he deceive me like this and run away with my money?" she exclaimed, feeling hot and very angry. The police officers listened carefully to what Emeka and Musa had to say. After some questions and explanations, they began to understand the situation. Realizing that Musa and Emeka were innocent and had no involvement in Tunde's actions, the officers decided to let them go. "You are free to leave," one of the officers said, giving them a sympathetic look. As they walked out of the police station, Emeka and Musa felt a wave of relief wash over them. They were glad to be free, but their hearts were heavy with anger at Tunde for what he had done. "I can't believe he put us all in this situation," Emeka said, shaking his head. Musa nodded in agreement. "He was our friend and now he's just a liar," he replied. They left the station and walked home, talking about how they never expected Tunde to behave this way. Both friends felt betrayed and disappointed. They knew they had to be more careful about who they trusted in the future. For a long time, the police were searching for Tunde. They discovered more secrets about him, that he had been involved in various scams, money-related things, and also how he has duped a lot of people. And they also knew that he had to be arrested so he could face the authorities. Tunde was running up and down, looking for places to hide. He was feeling so desperate and had nowhere else to go. Tunde finally decided to return to Musa and Emeka. He hoped they would accept him back and let him stay in their house, since they've been friends for a very long time. Tunde got to Musa and Emeka's house. They were very shocked to see him and also very angry. They quickly asked him what he was doing in their house, and also told him about the trouble he has caused them. "Do you know what we have faced just because of you?" Musa said angrily. "We were arrested and taken to the police station all because of your careless act," Emeka added, shaking his head. Tunde felt ashamed and began to plead for their forgiveness. "I am so sorry. Please help me out. I didn't mean any of this to happen," he cried. Reluctantly, they let him enter the house and sit down. As they talked, Musa and Emeka expressed their frustration. "We warned you not to get involved in those crimes," Emeka said, "but you didn't listen. You wanted quick and easy money, forgetting that life doesn't work like that." Musa nodded in agreement. "We tried to convince you to find a decent job, but you refused and even walked out on us after insulting us. Now look at you. You are wanted by the police and living a very reckless life, living in hiding and isolation." Tunde's heart sank as he listened. He knew they were very right. "Please, I have nowhere else to go," he begged, tears streaming down his face. "I don't want to go to prison." Musa sighed, feeling torn. "We can't keep you here. If we do, the police will think we are involved in your scams as well, and that will put us in trouble," he explained. "We have to do the right thing and report you." Tunde's pleading became more desperate, but it was too late. Emeka had already called the police and they were on their way. Moments later, the police arrived at the house. Tunde's heart raced with fear as he walked in. "Tunde, you are under arrest," one officer said firmly. He felt a wave of panic wash over him as they took him away. In jail, Tunde had a lot of time to think. The reality of his choices sank in. He realized that looking for quick and easy ways to make money had only brought him trouble. He learned that it was better to be patient and work hard for what you want. He also understood the pain he had caused others by scamming them. As the days went by in jail, Tunde promised himself that he would change if he ever got the chance. He knew he needed to be a better person and live an honest life. The lessons he learned in those cold, lonely cells would stay with him forever. Musa and Emeka felt very sorry for their friend, but there was nothing they could do. He needed to face the law. They also learned very good lessons that it is better to work very hard and make your own money than going around scamming people of their hard-earned money. Thank you for watching. This is Tales by Joyful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also turn on your post notification so you'll be notified whenever we post another story. See you next time. Bye.